Hello and welcome to the video. If you're new here, like, comment, and subscribe. But this is a new installment to my hero concept series that I haven't touched on in a few months, but I figured I might as well use the older concepts I had that I was going to upload, and I'll just show you guys what I did with them. So let's get into it. One quick thing before we actually get into it, I did also make some revisions based on my opinions now, so I just wanted to say that, so we'll get to that at the end. So I'm using the old Project Titan concept character of McLeod in this character concept, so let's get into his background. I think McLeod would be at least inspired by Scottish culture and traditions spanning centuries past, and then for us, it'd be even further back for him, you know? I think he'd live in Glasgow, Scotland, because he wanted to immerse himself in as much of the culture as he can, as it intrigued him, you know? As for affiliation, I think he would be part of Overwatch, or maybe even the Wayfinders, since he's a lover of the past similar to Venture, but Venture is more in the archaeology and discovering, while he is more written history and finding notes and journals of the past rather than artifacts themselves. So let's go on to his passives. He is a DPS character, so he'll have the damage roll passive, and then he'll have a passive called Parry This. When the passive reaches full meter and goes down, a movement buff is given to getaway opportunities or hyper aggressive engages. So his deflect we'll get into in a little bit. But basically the goal is to have a similar deflect style with Genji, but in a different application. Next up is his HP. I initially gave him 275 total HP, with 50 of it being armor, since he will be a more melee character to get burst damage, and he'll have a ranged primary just to close the distance. His primary fire will be a modern SMG for us, but since for them, they're in the future, it'll be old school SMGs. It gives the whole inspiration of taking from the past and using it now, giving him a ranged option as well. And I think damage-wise, it would be less than Sombra's in fire rate, but overall a little bit higher damage. So think of Sombra's fire rate at 80%, but with a 10% damage boost, you know? Next is his secondary fire, Parry. So basically the goal was to have similar to Genji's deflect, but instead of deflecting all incoming damage that aren't beams for a certain amount of time, McLeod can deflect a set amount of damage, but his is indefinite when not being shot. It's like a resource meter, kind of like Doomfist block. So when Parry reaches full and enters a cooldown state, it'll be a 6-second cooldown. Putting it away before it reaches full will be a 3-second cooldown, and it uses a claymore that is strapped to his back. That's just a fun thing I thought we could do. Now for McLeod's ability 1, Stampede. It's similar to Soldier's, or more like Mauga's charge, where it gives a speed boost, but movement control isn't as good, and it's clunky because of his antique armor, is what we're saying. And when charging into enemies, it gives them slight knockback, just enough to move them through doorways and stuff, and it has a moderate 6 to 8 second cooldown, something in that range. For his ability 2, we're taking straight from that concept image and calling it only 1. He unsheaths his claymore and holds it ready to strike, and then when the button is released, he swings in a Rhine type arc swing, but it has a little bit less range, more like 3 meters than 5 meters ish. It deals pretty decent burst damage with an 8, maybe 10-second cooldown. Then for his ultimate, I called it Valiant Heart. Basically, it boosts his HP to the equivalent of Bastion with 350. His sword becomes his primary like Genji. His stampede is faster, he swings faster, his movement speed overall is faster, and it's a bit more than Genji Blade. This was more of a stimulation / buffing what he does already ultimate, and I don't like it, which is why we're going to get into my slightly improved version, and we'll go over that right now. Just wanted to say real quick, anything not put up on the screen again means it is completely unchanged. With that, let's get on to his passive, Parry This. Instead of what before it was, when Parry reaches full meter and goes down, only 1 reduces cooldown by 1 to 2 seconds, so maybe a 1.5 second cooldown reduction, just to incentivize using it in close quarters then immediately popping it. Next is his HP, which I simply just lowered to 250, with 50 still being armor. I just think the 275 was a little much. So, I think this would play out better since he'll have plenty of HP with that armor, reducing a lot of damage. Now for his ability 1, Stampede has been changed. McLeod now hops onto his horse and charges forward for a decent amount of distance. Enemies passed by the horse receive a light knockback, so this way it's just like a better version that's just faster to do. This also just adds more visual dynamic within the hero cast, because while the horse itself cannot be hurt or killed or anything, I think it just spices it up just enough for him to be unique. Now it's time for a reworked Valiant Heart. Instead of what happened before, when activated, he hops onto his horse again and the Claymore becomes his primary. His speed is boosted while on the horse and he gains new/different abilities, and the duration is 10 seconds. I think this just adds another new dynamic with the horse pet, where you have a rideable mount that really is just used in his ultimate or for a quick little burst of speed. Stampede has now been changed to Buckshot while in his ultimate. The horse will quickly turn around and use its back legs to kick the enemy. I'm imagining like a momentary stun or like a slow, so that way it like makes sense. You got hit by a horse, and maybe even a slight knock up. Okay damage, like maybe a little bit more than a melee with a 6-ish cooldown, so you can use it twice during the ultimate. Last but not least, only one is changed when using the ultimate to Stomp. The horse jumps up a little bit and stomps the ground, applying a light knockup to enemies in a radius of 3 to 5-ish meters. The center, like with 1.5 meters, is a critical stun, similar to Malgo's Overrun, but overall it's a small amount of damage with an 8-ish second cooldown. So his ultimate basically will just function as disrupting and just buying time. So he would be a good character to, if you have your ultimate, to just hop on your horse and go stall cart or something. While in this current iteration, he definitely has some flaws and might be problematic. I do think this is a good concept to just explore the type of pets we can do, because currently the only pets in the game are the turrets, Riptire, Bob, and I think that is it. So I think it would just be fun to see more pets like a horse or something. But, this is the end of our concept, unfortunately. But I hope you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.